What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. MTG here with another episode. If you're new to the channel, hi there. I've got the iPhone 15 Pro Max in blue titanium and the Samsung Galaxy S23 in green. And I want to compare these two and talk about them and share my opinion on which one I will choose between the two. And I'm going to start things off with design. They're two totally different designs, but they're very similar to their predecessors. Now, I would have preferred the more boxy look of the Galaxy S23 Ultra more if this was a comparison with the 14 Pro Max, but I really like how the 15 Pro Max feels in the hand, being more rounded off. Granted, there's been drop tests and it looks like it hasn't held up that well, but I don't really mind too much about that. The overall feel, it just feels very comfortable to hold in the hand. Now, I don't really mind that there's titanium on the 15 Pro Max rather than stainless steel. I actually do appreciate it because it does also help with having a lighter device. This feels much more lighter than the 14 Pro Max, and it's more fingerprint resistant. There's still fingerprints on the sides, but it's less, you can't see as much as you could with stainless steel. Now, the display on both of these devices, they're amazing, and I can recommend both of them to use for content, for making content, watching content, using it for social media, texting, like everything you do on your phone. These are great displays. S23 Ultra goes up to 1750 max brightness, 1750 nits of peak brightness, and the 15 Pro Max goes up to 2000. Nonetheless, in broad daylight, when you're under the sun, they are very good to use. Now, the mute switch for the 15 Pro Max has been replaced for an action button. And I'm still happy Apple has an extra button you can use to pretty much map whatever you like, especially with shortcuts. You can kind of open any app you'd like. Granted, I still have it as my ring silent for now, but I might change it in the future. In addition, the 15 Pro Max finally has USB-C, which means I can now charge my S23 Ultra right here and the iPhone with one cable, finally. So whenever I go out on a trip and I bring my MacBook Air, I bring my iPhone, I bring my S23 Ultra or another Android device, and I bring my iPad, I have one cable. Oh, and also my earbuds, not my AirPods Pro because I didn't get the USB-C, and not AirPods Max because they haven't been updated. But still, if I don't bring those, I have one cable for all my stuff. Now, one thing with the design of the S23 Ultra is the S Pen that I only pretty much need it, especially when I'm signing documents. But other than that, like I'm not using it too often. So like I said, they have two totally different designs. This comes down to preference, which one you like. I personally like the feel of the 15 Pro Max just a little bit more than the S23 Ultra. Don't get me wrong, this boxy feel is great, but I don't know, this just feels a little bit easier, more comfortable to hold. That's leading me into the software and the performance. So I have the One UI Beta 6 based on Android 14 on my S23 Ultra, and it has been very fluid and is actually one of my favorite OEM skins. Not gonna lie, I really do like One UI on Samsung devices. Now, for both of these devices, the daily performance, it's great. Like neither of them I've come across any hiccups or any issues whatsoever. And no lag when multitasking. They are great at that too. Now, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 made for Galaxy on the S23 Ultra, very powerful chipset, even though the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is going to come out pretty soon at the time of this recording, along with the S24 Ultra, you still can't go wrong with this chipset. And it has been able to tackle everything that I threw at it, like from hardcore mobile games to shooting a bunch of video, lots of video content on consumption on YouTube, pretty much everything that I do on a daily with my device, I did on the S23 Ultra. It's been great. Hasn't had any issues whatsoever. Now, the same thing goes for the 15 Pro Max. This A17 Pro chip, it hasn't struggled at all. And in some benchmark scores, it competes with the M1 chip found in MacBook. device like MacBook laptops and the Mac Mini, M1 Mac Mini that came out at the end of 2020, that is some serious power right there. Just to compare it, like you have a laptop chip that is almost, well, A17 Pro chip, which is almost as powerful as a laptop chip. That's pretty cool when you think about it. Granted, I don't really care about, I don't know about the numbers exactly, but I've seen some comparisons and it does seem pretty cool. Now, S23 Ultra, it offers 4 years of software updates and 5 years of security updates. So good job. Maybe next year they might go even longer because Google just promised 7 years of OS updates, and that's surpassing the iPhone, surpassing Apple products, like 5-6 years, but 7 years from Google. Granted, they promised it. They haven't had that 7 years to push out software updates yet. So let's see what happens in the 7 years if they can keep up with their promise. Now, iPhone 15 Pro Max, iOS 17, so far 0 bugs, and I'm much happier with its performance as compared to its predecessor, the 14 Pro Max, when that released with iOS 16 from last year. That had a bunch of bugs and a lot of hiccups and stutters. It was pretty horrific. Now the 14 Pro Max and the 15 Pro Max, they're going to receive about 5 years of software updates. But it may receive 6. Some device from Apple receives 6, but 5 is pretty much the minimum. Apple doesn't officially release that number, but that's typically what the trend has been. And many people are holding on to their devices longer. Granted, there are actually quite a few people that don't like to update their phones, and they have their reasons. I think they're kind of valid, but I see where they're coming from. Nonetheless, like daily performance and software-wise, Samsung has come a long way. I probably would give this round to Samsung in my opinion, because from the days of TouchWiz UI to using One UI, especially now that's running the Android 14 beta, it's been very smooth. It's been a breeze using this, and iOS 17 has been pretty good so far. 0 bugs that I haven't come across any, so that's also a plus. That's going to lead me into one of the biggest topics a lot of smartphones have nowadays with comparisons is the camera. For me, both of them, they're reliable when it comes to photo and for video. Now 200 megapixel on the Galaxy S23 Ultra, its quality is on point. And if you want to take 200 megapixel camera, you got to make sure that the pictures you're taking are in 200 megapixels, because default mode, it's not 200, but also do keep in mind that there is sometimes a bit of a shutter lag in this mode when you're taking 200 megapixels. Now there's also 8K video recording at 30 FPS, and the quality is pretty good. There's been some controversy surrounding like moon photos taken with the S23 Ultra. I don't really care. I don't mind. I like how it looks like a moon when I take moon photos when I use the 100x zoom. And gotta say, the 100x zoom comes in really handy when you need to take a photo from far away. And I'm actually pretty upset I didn't bring this with me to my trip to Istanbul, because this would have come in very clutch. It would have gotten much better photos than I brought the Z Flip 5, and that didn't really have that 100x zoom, so I kind of missed out there. Nonetheless, still takes some very good photos. Coming to the Pro Max, it comes included with the 5x telephoto lens and the 48 megapixel camera. And 5x telephoto lens, I mean, it's farther optical zoom. It's not as far as Samsung's 10x optical zoom, but it's still very good. Now the improvements are also pretty good. So Apple's photonic engine combines pixels and makes them larger to absorb more light, and it combines it with a full 48 megapixel frame. The result is now a default 24 megapixel photo, and only goes down to 12 megapixels when you're in night mode. Now Apple did go ahead and they denoted 24 millimeter, 28 millimeter, and 35 millimeter focal lengths in the camera. So you do have that if you do need it. And that equates to 1x, 1.2x, and 1.5x zoom. Now, video is phenomenal as always, and it's a great device that I can recommend, especially for those wanting to make content. So if you want to make content, this is the device you want to pick up. Yeah, I'd pick this up for making content over the S23 Ultra any day. It's just more reliable in my use. Now, recording on the 15 Pro Max just happens to work better with my workflow since the products I use to edit my videos are Apple-based, both hardware and software. 15 Pro Max and Galaxy S23 Ultra in my battery use case. And here's what I got. So S23 Ultra, it had beaten the 14 Pro Max in my battery life, like through my day-to-day use. With 15 Pro Max, at first 15 Pro Max was pretty good, but now I waited a little bit to test the 15 Pro Max a little bit more, and now it's falling close to the 14 Pro Max, and this is still beating it out. Like, I'm getting 7 to 8 hours of screen on time with the Galaxy S23 Ultra, but I'm getting close to it, like 6 to 7 with the 15 Pro Max. At first, they were both performing about the same, and I was, happy with the battery life. I'm like, oh, this can, I can rely on the battery life on the 15 Pro Max, but now is not the case anymore. And like on the side, for example, like I'm also testing the Asus Zenfone 10, and this has a smaller battery, but it's performing much better. This is like, look at this. Okay, so I'm recording this at 10:26 at night, and I'm 65% charged. I took this out at like 6:37 in the morning at 100%, and I'm at 65%. That is just very good. Anyway, charging on the S23 Ultra, 45 watts, so it's much faster than the 14 or 15 Pro Max. I'm still used to saying 14 Pro Max. This takes much longer. Granted, most times I am charging it on a MagSafe charger, so I'm not in any rush. And up until this point, before USB-C, I'd MagSafe charge my iPhones anyway. Like, even if I had Lightning cable, I'd still MagSafe charge it. So having USB-C is just easier for me when I'm on the go. S23 Ultra also has wireless charging, and it also has reverse wireless charging. 15 Pro Max doesn't have that. That would have been pretty cool to have reverse wireless charging. I can charge my AirPods, but they don't. Now, at first, I was going to write, neither, in my script at least, neither device would let you down in the battery department. And that's still kind of true, but I choose the S23 Ultra because it lasts a little bit longer, but it also charges up a little bit quicker. And for those who don't have that time to charge or to wait that long, for example, S23 Ultra is that device to go with. I want to talk about price too, because pricing is important to many consumers. So S23 Ultra starts at $11.99 for 256 gigs. Now, 15 Pro Max starts at $11.99 for 256 gigs. So starting price is the same now. However, when we go up to 512, $13.79 for the S23 Ultra and $13.99 for the 15 Pro Max for 512. Here's the catch though. You can find the S23 Ultra on sale much more, more often than you can with the 15 Pro Max. So they have the same starting price tag as well as the same storage, but this one goes on sale more often. Like, I've seen this for as low as $8.99 starting. That is very good. Like that I'm really happy with that. Now Samsung, like I said, it's gonna go on sale, and it'll probably go on sale throughout November and December. But I wanna share my final thoughts with you guys. Like, this one, it's tough. I love both of these devices, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max is my daily device, like my daily iPhone first of all, but also the #1 device I'm using to make content for the channel and also for TikTok, for those who are watching on TikTok. But as a daily, I'd still go with the S23 Ultra. It's just, like, for me, in my use case, I just feel more content with this. And there's also just the fact that, like, up until I was able to grow the channel, and thank you guys, by the way, because of your support that I'm able to check out these amazing devices. I've always been on Android, and it's just been a part of me, and I just, my roots tie back to Android. So there's that too. But I'm not saying iPhone 15 Pro Max is a bad device because I'm choosing the S23 Ultra. This is a phenomenal device. I can easily recommend the 15 Pro Max. It just comes down to personal preference at the end, and I think I would choose S23 Ultra. But that's really been it. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure to superman the like button, comment down below, and best of all, share this video because it really does help out the channel a lot and will help push my content out to more people. That's been it for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.